Hello and welcome to EeJayGaming. In 2003, Inevitable Entertainment made a game called The Hobbit, based off J.R.R. Tolkien's book with the same name. This was made during the era when games such as Rayman 3, Jak and Daxter, and Ratchet & Clank were very popular. You could call it the cartoonish platforming era, and those were the games that I really grew up with. Well, you're probably familiar with the story of The Hobbit, but in case you're not, here's a quick summary. Once upon a time there was a dwarf kingdom called Erebor, located in the Lonely Mountain. The dwarves mined a lot of gold and gems, and they were praised for their great wealth. But that also got the attention of less friendly beings. Eventually the great dragon Smaug the Magnificent attacked Erebor, killed almost every dwarf living there, and claimed the treasure to himself. Several years later, the grandson of the dwarf king, Thorin, son of Thrain, decides to take Erebor back and gathers 12 of his relatives to start an epic journey to the Lonely Mountain, accompanied by the great wizard Gandalf the Grey. Gandalf suggests that they should hire a burglar to steal the treasure from the dragon right under his nose. Yeah, sounds really clever. But anyway, he advises them to recruit a hobbit called Bilbo Baggins of the Shire, the hero of the game. You start in this dream world where you fight off a bunch of enemies while you are invincible. You fight your way through until you eventually get ambushed by a pack of goblins and wakes up. The next morning Gandalf tells you that you are late and you need to get to the dwarves at the Green Dragon Inn. You grab your walking stick and head out. You would think that he would just run like crazy and not stop to talk to anyone on his way, but somehow he finds time to build a bridge, talk to a bunch of hobbit smartasses, play hide and seek with some kids, collect food for the journey, and so on, even though he's in such a great hurry that he forgets his wallet. After each stage you come to this vendor where you can spend the money that you find during the game. Here you can buy health potions, antidotes, and a water of vigor which gives you full health plus a barrier of 10 health orbs. You can also buy keys that can be used to open chests. Speaking of the chests, there are 3 types of them: wooden chests, blue-silver chests, and golden ones. Most of the time you open them by solving a puzzle, but with keys you can skip them. If you fail, you usually get hurt and sometimes even poisoned. The golden ones are the hardest, so the keys can be very handy with them. Okay, back to the vendor. You can buy a medicine case that makes it possible to stock more potions, and there's also a bag so you can stock more rocks. The rocks act as ranged weapons. In some locations you can find power-ups that gives your stone special powers. There's fire, ice, and explosive. And of course you can pay to max out your stones. But now there's only one more thing left: the Water of Fortitude. But I wouldn't bother with this one, it's too expensive and it only gives you 1 extra life. I recommend you spend your money on potions and the other stuff. The red orbs in the left corner work pretty much like the heart in Zelda. If you get hurt, you can replenish them by finding mushrooms or taking potions. And to get a new orb, you collect gems. You can see them as experience points. You get them by finding them on the ground, defeating enemies, or completing quests. As you may see, there are many RPG elements in this game, like treasure chests, potions, and that you need to collect experience points to level up. Of course, I have never played a game where I can find XP on the ground as pickups. Something they succeeded very well with in this game is that they were very faithful to the book, but in the same time not too faithful. What I mean is that they followed the story of the book very accurately, but they still add new details to the story, much like in Peter Jackson's King Kong. They add stuff to make it more playable as a game without raping the book completely, which is very difficult with movie and book-based games. Sometimes they are too faithful to the original, and that just makes the gameplay stiff and boring. And other times they totally lose track of the original story, and that usually gets ridiculous and pisses the fans off. But with this game, they really got it right with following the book faithfully, but also make it fit better as a game. It has a very varied gameplay. Most of the game is a hardcore platformer. Like, look at this place. One mistake here and you are dead. This is absolutely not the easiest game I have ever played. And now look at this. I am climbing a waterfall of troll vomit. Seriously. The action is very good too. You start with the walking stick and the rocks as weapons, but you will get sting as soon as you finish the 3rd level. It is more powerful in battle and can break enemy guards and shields when you perform a jump attack. But the walking stick still isn't worthless. You're gonna need it to perform special pole jumps, which are the only way to reach faraway places. When proceeding through the game, you'll find scrolls that will increase your fighting skills. The enemies in the game are a variation of different creatures and monsters, like wolves, goblins, spiders, undeads, and these things. It looks like the outcome of a velociraptor mating with a frog. But the worst enemies must be the small red spiders. They are quick, they take many hits to kill, and they poison you when attacking. During many parts in the game you come across enemies that you're not supposed to fight, but sneak past them instead. Like when you encounter the 3 trolls, Tom, Bert and William, or when you are to free the dwarf Balfour from the goblin mines. Of course you will get the ring eventually, and these parts become much less complicated. Even if this game is for the most part a pure platformer, it also contains a whole lot of hard puzzles. 2 of the worst puzzles are in Lake Town. First, this guy asks you to go find a number of bottles with different colors. Then he tells you to put them in a rack in a very specific order to open a hidden door. But the old geezer has forgotten the combination, and instead he gives you some back-ass description of which bottles that can be next to each other and which bottles that cannot. Even though I played through this game so many times, this part never makes sense.
The combination escapes me in memory, but I do remember this. Yeller is to the left of red and blue, which is not next to black. Purple can only lie beside black, and none else. Black is to the right of yeller. I regret I can't remember more.
In the next puzzle you're supposed to put 3 barrels with a different amount of whatever's inside them on 6 pressure pads in order to open a number of doors. Different combinations open different doors. And I hate this puzzle, yet let's just carry on. The character designs are excellent. Bilbo looks great, and Gandalf looks like you expect him to, and the dwarves as well. There are also some characters that doesn't appear in the book, but are added to fill out the story. First, we meet an elf called Lyanna in level 3, who later helps you escape the Elven Palace. Then the dwarf Balfour, which I mentioned before, and Corwin, a human archer that we meet in Mirkwood. During the Battle of 5 Armies, you get to fight alongside both Corwin and Lyanna, but not with Balfour. That sucks, because it would have been pretty awesome to see him in action after what he did to his prison guards.
Freedom! Time to play! Baruch Hazard!
There's also a point where you get to fight with Gandalf. Overall, there isn't much to complain about with this game. It doesn't seem to suffer from any serious glitches or design flaws, so it works pretty well to play. Oh, and while we're on the subject of glitches, I have just got to tell about this one. This game is very fussy when it comes to how much damage you take when falling. Sometimes you can fall down from a platform that really isn't that far up, but you still take a great deal of damage, or in some occasions all of your life. But there is one spot in the entire game that you can jump down an extremely deep gorge and walk away from it totally unharmed. This glitch is actually as helpful as it is awesome. Other than that, the game runs extremely well and has great control. One thing that I don't like about this game is the lack of boss fights. There is only this giant cave wolf and this undead lord guy and these 3 spiders that you encounter one at a time. Every now and then you stumble upon some mini bosses, but they're just stronger versions of regular enemies. Unfortunately, there's no final boss. At the end of the last level you're supposed to save Beorn from goblin warlocks. It could be considered as some kind of boss battle, but I wouldn't call it that. All you do is trigger one of the most awesome and over-the-top chain reactions in the history of gaming. Sit back and enjoy. that's The Hobbit for you. It has everything you could ever ask from a game. Great action, stunning platforming, genius puzzle solving, and so much more, all in one extraordinary game. Until we see each other next time, have a nice day.
Hey, what are you doing?